Hi there. Today we're going to learn how to tell when an equation is proportional. In a previous video we learned how to look at a graph and see what characteristics make it proportional. Just want to remind you about that since graphs and tables and equations are all related. One example of yes is what we're looking for is the origin, meaning passing through where the x and the y-axis meet, right there. And another thing was, is it a straight line? That's how we can tell looking at a graph. So this is a yes. Here's a couple of examples of no. Straight line, but does not pass through the origin. So that is a no. Or for example, if it goes through the origin, pretend that's through the origin, but it's not a straight line, then that's also a no. Okay? So on a graph, we're looking for the origin and a straight line. So the question is, what does that look like in an equation? Okay, so first of all, in an equation, go over here, we're looking for a unit rate, also known as a constant. Later on we'll call this the coefficient, but let's not worry about that quite yet. We're looking for a unit rate. Okay? The unit rate is simply something, when you're reading a word problem, you're going to see a word like each, every, per, in a. You might see words like constant rate in a word problem. Okay, these are all key words that are telling you that there is a unit rate. So always look for those words. The ordered pair is going to look like that. It means some value for x for each y. There's that word each. Okay? On a table, if we're looking at an XY table, remember, we're just talking about unit rate right now. In case this seems a little scattered, well, it's not. We're talking about unit rate. Maybe if I change colors, it'll make things easier. So we know the unit rate is going to be right here. Why? Because there's one y on the table. Okay? By the way, here's the origin. That's what that looks like on a table. Okay, so if we come up with some value of x for each y, that gives us the unit rate. And if you see the double zeros, that's the origin. Okay, so for example, if you're looking at an equation like this, y equals 4x. That means there's one y, there's 4 for each x. Okay, so there is the unit rate. There we go. So that's where you find unit rate in an equation. So when you're reading a story problem or something like that, let's say you have this going on. Let me show you how to find unit rate just by reading something, because that's going to tell you where to put it in the equation. For example, the clock chimes 4 times every hour. There's the word every. Here's the number 4. Here's the multiplying. There's the H for hour. And we can say the number of chimes. There's an equation, right? And there's the unit rate. Most word problems, you can find this stuff just sitting there. It's looking right at you. Okay, I'm going to highlight again. I'm using the number 4 in all of these, by the way. There are 4 seasons each year. There's the multiplier. Here's a variable. And here's a variable. So we can go, the number of seasons is 4 each year. And of course we don't write the multiplying sign. We can pretend there's no dot there, no multiplication sign there. But I'm just doing this for examples. So there's our number 4. There's our multiplying words, inna, that means multiply, and we'll use G for game. And here's quarters. That's our other variable. So we have quarters. The number of quarters is 4 in a game. Quarters equals 4G. Q equals 4G. Okay, very simple. And finally, we have per. There's your multiplier. Gallon. There's your variable. There's our number 4 again. And miles. So we have the number of miles is 4 each gallon. Miles is 4. There's the invisible multiplication sign, each gallon. So you can see how just by reading the problem, most of the time you can just write the equation if you know what you're looking for. Okay. So the variables might change, but the format stays the same. We're just looking for those multiplying words. So here's the point of this whole video. The point is this. When you look at an equation, you're looking for two things. You're looking for the origin and the unit rate, just like we did in a graph. We just talked about unit rate and where to find it. It's just left of the x. As long as you've got a number there, bam, you've got a unit rate. And also then the origin, which is a little more mystical, you're looking for nothing. If there's nothing there, that's the origin. Woo! So if you see those two things, meaning you see that and you see nothing there, then it is proportional. That's the point, okay? All right, so we figured out how to find the unit rate in an equation. Now we have to ask, well, where is the origin? Remember, on a graph, it's right there. On a table, it's right there. But where is it in our equation? Well, I'm going to leave that one up to our friend Yoda here. Yoda once said, "Where there is nothing, there is something." That something is called the origin. Here's what I mean. It's right there. Okay? Here's why. If you have some equation, like this, if you substitute 0 for x, y is 0. Right? Y equals 3 times 0. So there's my 0 on the table, and my answer for y is 0. So by doing that, that creates the origin. Now this won't work in an equation where it's not proportional. For example, this equation looks great. We have a unit rate right there. But we're going to test for origin, which means if I substitute 0 for x, y equals 3, which means if I had my table, I would have that. That is not the origin. So this equation, although it's just fine, is not proportional. Okay? So that's how you test, and that's how we can just go to the simple observation where if you have an equation where there's nothing there, there's nothing over there, it's proportional because that's the origin. But if you have an equation where there is something there, that means, well, that's the y-intercept. We can get to that later in y equals mx plus b. But if there's something there, then it's not proportional. Okay? The whole point of this video, once again, is we're just seeing if we can look at an equation and tell if it's proportional. So there's the point. You got a unit rate, and you've got nothing else. Then, yes, it is proportional. Okay? Remember Yoda's quote, where there is nothing, there is something. If you just picture Yoda's little face there at the end of the equation, you're set. And in conclusion, when you look at an equation and you're trying to decide if it's proportional, there's a number there and there's nothing there. That's it. My work here is done. Thanks for watching What's Your Math channel, and I will see you next time.